Was this dread? What is it we do in the red pill? We swap notes. Now, I'm sure people have heard all kinds of different stories about us, but I'm here to give you a glimpse inside the locker room. Here, we're going to discuss the field reports that happened a few years back. Brand new guys who are trying to learn the strategies that we talk about. Who am I? I used to be one of these brand new guys. I, like you, was pretty good at women and relationships, but I wasn't great at it. Hard times hit, things got tough, and it turns out there's nowhere for a man to go nowadays that actually wants him to succeed, to thrive, to get better at what he does and improve his lot in life. So, like most guys, I took it upon myself, found a bunch of guys in the same boat as me, and together we built a set of working strategies based on the experience of hundreds of thousands of men, just like us. Men swapping notes, iron sharpening iron. Welcome to the locker room. So last week, I was in a depressed state of mind, feeling insecure out of nowhere. I posted a question about alpha widows and appreciated the helpful responses. Over the weekend, I withdrew a lot of my attention from my wife, but I wasn't acting all butthurt or bitchy. I got things done around the house, kids, etc., they were cordial. The wife was sensing something was up and thought I was mad at her. And when she questioned me, I basically played it off, said everything was cool with us, and I just had a lot on my mind and was tired from last week, which was true. She seemed more anxious than usual that weekend. So after a good workout and help from you guys on my previous question, I got over that crap in my head. I was feeling super into her after the workout and initiated to a very receptive wife. And she managed to finish with some caveman missionary style, which is very rare in that position unless she's really turned on. I know I'm probably way into her frame by thinking about this, but I'm trying to analyze her psychology. I wasn't trying to dread her on purpose. I'm just taking care of the weekend stuff around the house and didn't give her a lot of attention. When I've been a little Rambo in the past, I don't usually get this reaction from her. She seemed afraid she had done something wrong. Other times, I had been overly taking my attention away. She just seemed to withdraw herself as well. Are there any thoughts to this? I mean, I'm not hung up on about it, but I'm just trying to see her behavior through a red pill perspective, and maybe there's a lesson for me to learn here. Maybe not enough keeping my mouth shut on my part. A couple definitions here before we get started. Rambo? Rambo is a clever little term, and there's a bit of a story behind it. There was this character, his username was Alpha as Wolf, and he was starting to apply his map to his life. The problem is, most of the advice that you get is very situational. Some things work here, the opposite things work there, you get the idea. The problem was, he just applied everything wholesale. Didn't think about what his situation was, didn't think about his goals. If anybody told him something, he would just gronk his way through it. And he did it with enthusiasm. Think of an example of a guy who wants to drive to the store. So he gets in his car, he flicks on the lighter, he opens and closes the windows, he starts the locks, he starts the car, he pushes the brake, pushes the gas, pushes the clutch, turns on the blinkers, and then he wonders why he's not at the store yet and everybody around him is confused. When somebody is going Rambo, it's not so much that they're going heavy or hard. That's fine. We have techniques and I have a video on Operation Scorched Earth that talks about just that. Going Rambo means you're just applying things haphazardly and you're not paying attention to what's happening around you. Now notice I didn't say reading minds, I say observing. Because if you do something and it doesn't have the intended effect, then chances are you're either doing it wrong or you're doing the wrong thing. Alpha widows. This is a shorthand term for a concept that can't remember where it originally came from. I want to say Rollo Tomassi, because that's the easy answer. Essentially, for a promiscuous girl who spent a lot of her youth chasing a lot of men, having a lot of friends with benefits, a fairly high notch count, I guess, eventually settles down, finds a husband. The problem then is with the kind of girl that pines over the one that got away. There was that one guy that she just couldn't tame, and she never quite got over him. It's similar to the idea of an actual widow who couldn't get over the man that died. In this case, there's always that one guy that she would give everything up to go after. And if you're in a relationship with this kind of girl, it becomes very difficult to be the best man in her life because there's always this one. And the problem is, as more time passes, the less the guy's actual characteristics are in her mind. She actually will build up an illusion, an idealized version of him. And there's no way a normal guy can compete with that. And so it's a very, I don't want to say common, but it's not uncommon either. A situation where a guy is always having to compete with a guy who doesn't exist in his wife's head, and he never truly gets her. If you want to see the outcome of this for a very extreme example, there's an article by Rollo Tomassi you might want to read called Saving the Best. It kind of illustrates what the consequences of something like this can be. I think you've heard it before. Carl and I talk about it all the time, about stepping on your own dick and analyzing the footprint. Well, a lot of questions from guys in here are just that. He works so hard at trying to figure out what his wife is thinking, trying to read her mind, that he's twisting himself into knots over something that, and the only thing we can take for granted here is that whatever he thinks happened, didn't. There's no way you can know what your wife is thinking all the time. There's no way she can know what she's thinking all the time. And there's no reason you need to be focused on it. This here is a nothing burger of a story. A guy was in a weird mood. He said it had nothing to do with her. He went out and worked out, and he came home, and he had a conjugal visit with the wife. That's kind of what relationships are about. But to attribute it to more shows that you're not quite understanding how this all works. If you have a strong frame, first off, these little things here, they don't bother you. You can be in a weird mood and still have your frame. It's just a weird mood. You know it's normal. And for those of you who get anxiety from time to time, this is something you should keep in mind as well. Once you have these weird feelings that come out of nowhere, a little tinge of anxiety and insecurity, anything out of the normal, you have to realize there's most likely a trigger to it, even if you don't know what the heck it was. So what you need to do is accept, okay, that makes sense. This is exactly what would happen to anybody in this situation, because as soon as you start looking at it as if something's wrong with me, what could be wrong, you start creating this feedback loop. And that feedback loop turns what could be a 1 out of 10 odd feeling into a 10 out of 10 anxiety attack if you're not careful. Secondly, you gotta stop acting like a woman in your life. I mean, this guy, he did kind of play it off, but you gotta realize he's sitting here trying to analyze his effect on the world as if he's some kind of psychology major, which you really can't do. For all we know, the wife could have just been in the mood. Who knows? But by analyzing it and thinking about it, all you're really doing is deflecting your frame from where it's supposed to be focused, directly on yourself. Remember, your frame is your reality. And anything outside that is either intriguing, amusing, or funny. So in general, when you do things, and I know guys have the urge to overanalyze everything because we love to understand every little complexity in our lives as if it's some kind of engine we can tinker with. But you can't do that. Frame is all about your reality. The things that are outside of it and don't have a direct benefit to you are not worth your consideration. Remember, whatever your wife is thinking is not your concern. How she's acting and behaving towards you, that part is. And as long as that part's on lock, then you really don't have to worry about the rest. Besides, just have a nice night, buy her a bottle of wine, and I'm sure she'll fill your head with all the things that are bumbling around in her head anyway. Enjoy yourself. All jokes aside, you guys take care. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.